fellow travelers, and welcome to another episode of Vertical Stars Podcast 4th season. My loyal listeners, thank you for continued support. Enjoy this amazing interview because Stephanie Williams returns to the mothership. We discuss her new book, Roots of Madness, from Ignition Press. Now come on board as we go traversing the stars. Hi, Miss Williams. Thank you for coming back to the Vertical Stars Podcast.
Yes, I am happy to be back, Jeff. Thank you for the invite.
So can you tell me what inspired the creation of Roots of Madness?
Yes, a very random conversation with a dear friend of mine. And I don't even know how we got on the subject, but somehow we started talking about Madam CJ Walker.
Mm.
Um, Very random person to bring up in the middle of the week. So I think we were just talking about like alternate history, and my whole thing was like, it would have been great if, or it'd been fascinating if she was more of a chemist than an entrepreneur. Like
Mm.
she was not a trained chemist, but she was someone who did make home products in her house. So from there, it was just kind of a silly thought. And I was like, well, what if she had been more of a chemist and like we put a cosmic horror spin on this, and it's not really necessarily about the hair product itself, but kind of like this descent into madness because she's a person who is going beyond what her ancestors did or even her family at that. So how scary it is to go out into the void where no one can really give you any instructions, a game plan, or any of that. You're just kind of using all of the tools that you already have for the reality that you do know. So how do you apply that to a reality that you have no idea about? And I don't know, like the next thing I knew, this joking conversation turned into a really real thing. And I was writing a pitch and letting Jamie Rich and Philip Salbic know from Ignition Press that the thing that I originally pitched them, I was like, psych on that. I actually have another pitch, which it worked out because they really loved this one.
I think that's kind of cool. And I've been hearing so much from Ignition Press because they're a new publisher, but there's so many incredible names that are attached to it, including yours. So, what can you tell me about why Ignition Press is a great home for Roots of Madness and why you attach yourself with them?
Yeah, so Jamie Rich reached out to me last year. I was going to Boise Comic Art Festival of all places in Boise, Idaho, and I had no idea that Jamie was out that way. He's like, "Hey, do you want to meet?" So we met before the convention started, and that's when I learned about Ignition Press and everything that was going on. And from what he told me as far as like creator support, of course, monetary support, and also mental and emotional support as well. It just sounded like something that I wanted to be a part of because that wasn't anything that I had before. For the most part, I have been doing a lot of work for DC and Marvel, and not saying that they, don't give that type of support, but what Jamie and them are offering at Ignition Press is this freedom to not only create the stories that you want to, but remembering that you're also a human and also instead of just a creator. So that part is just extremely helpful because not having to stress about someone a rigid schedule for getting scripts in the door because it was due yesterday and you got to get it done immediately, to kind of have a little bit of time to I don't know, breathe as a creative. That was something that just really appealed to me. And also to be asked to come on to be kind of part of the creators that are launching the first wave of titles from the Ignition Press was like a huge honor to me. So I was all in from the beginning.
And I like that you say
Hmm.
they help you with like the emotional human side of things as well, which, as you said, with the big two, maybe a little too busy to be paying attention to.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. I just hope that what they're currently doing, they're not the only publisher that is doing it, but they are a publisher right now that a lot of eyes are on. And my hope is that creators other than myself will say, "Hey, you got ideas? Bring them on over to Ignition because not only will your ideas be valued, but you yourself will also be valued." And that is just something that unfortunately is kind of rare in this business, like you just said. And I don't know, like I feel like having that support in that way, it just makes the creativity flow a lot easier. The
Mm.
fact that I know that I can, as long as I'm communicating, letting Jamie know, who's the editor on my book, like, hey, I'm probably going to be a week late on this, and it not being a big deal because life happens.
Right.
There have been many a times where I have wanted to just like get a script out the door, but I simply couldn't because, a million things happen that have absolutely nothing to do with comics, and it's kind of
Mhm.
taken me out of the creator headspace, so to speak. But they have been just phenomenal again to work with. The marketing support has been great.
Mm.
Because a lot of times as a creator, even when you're working with bigger companies, you are responsible for making sure that you're marketing that book. And same thing in addition, but I will say that it feels like they're doing a lot more legwork in that way and helping to promote books and again, making sure that creators feel supported.
Was it like, did they come with you and say, we want a genre first, or they come with you and say, we want you as a creator first, tell us what you want to do?
Me as a creator first, and what do you want to do? Which I mean, I appreciate it so much because a lot of people know me for, of course, a lot of the superhero work that I've done. If you were someone who followed me on X, formerly known as Twitter, before it completely went to crap,
Yes.
then humor is something that people also know me for. So to be able to like tell them I want to do a cosmic horror, and for me to say it with a straight face and them to not think that I'm joking, meant the world to me because yeah, like I'm someone who wants to write whatever, like whatever the story dictates, like that is the story that I want to tell. And I don't want to just be confined to one kind of storytelling. So for them to welcome me with open arms and say, hey, what do you have for us? Again, like that was something that was so empowering. And I was able to carry that energy into other projects that I've been doing, even for the bigger companies.
So going to, like I said, the character we're talking about, Madam Walker, otherwise known as Sarah Breedlove, why is her story important in the larger historical context? Why do we not have a better understanding of who she is, even though that's not the story you're writing a story based on her? There still
Yeah.
was an inspiration from her, and I think it's interesting to know that she's someone who history hasn't paid as much attention to as maybe we should have.
Yeah, because I just remember in school when I did learn about Madam C.J. Walker initially, and this might have just been on me. I just assumed that, she was a chemist out of the door. Like she was a biochemist, and that was just her main focus and not necessarily the entrepreneurship part of it.
Yeah.
The entrepreneurship part of it is amazing. I know her as the first Black woman to become a millionaire. Like that's the thing that was driven home. And again, to me, like when I thought about that and just the character that I'm writing that's kind of inspired by her, and there's another character that is also present that is inspired by her, like how do I explore these two halves in a way that will hopefully make, younger folks want to go and research her history because, you know, not everyone is paying attention in school, and that's fine, right? Like not everyone's paying attention. We get interested in different things through different media. I know for me, like the very first time that I learned about affirmative action, funny enough, was from an Avengers comic. Right. And this is like when Sam Wilson first joined the Avengers, but that then made me go back to school, ask my teachers about it, and they're like, hey, you're a little early on this. We're covering this later in the
Hmm.
semester, but this is where you can go look for this. And given everything that's going on in this country and different things being taken away, I just think it's very important to try to infuse as much history or even alternate history into our work so that, again, whoever is reading it can get curious and actually go out and, look up someone like Madam C.J. Walker or whoever they haven't heard of.
Hmm.
I think of the movie Sinners.
Yep.
And I started, so Roots of Madness was already halfway done before Sinners came out, but once I saw Sinners, it was a pretty much like a confirmation that what I'm doing with Roots of Madness is not only needed, but I'm in the right direction because Sinners is a movie that sure is vampires on the surface level, but there's so much other things that are going on in that film that I don't know. Like, I think that's just really cool that, there have been whole talks that people have been doing, academic talks regarding Sinners. And I just think that is so cool that media is able to work, entertainment media is able to work that way where, we can be entertained, but also learn at the same time. And I'm hoping that's what Roots of Madness gives.
I think people appreciate more and more the importance of comics as an educational tool, as an historic
Mhm.
tool. I'm teaching summer school right now, and we're reading a graphic novel in my seventh grade called American Born Chinese, which is
Yeah.
again Jean Yang is it wrote.
Hmm.
I can't remember where I read that they have more comic books have more unique words per an issue than most than older than novels of the same age group and as well.
Hmm.
When you're writing something like Roots of Madness, and you're obviously like I said, you had inspiration of from Madam Walker as well. Um, are you thinking first make this a good story, or is it the intention educate and hopefully they go back about her?
So definitely first make this a good story because if it's not, then no one is gonna want to like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
go out, they're gonna stop reading and then never even get to the parts that maybe inspire them to look out into more. Because as much as the story is inspired by her, I found that it was me kind of being a kind of a catharsis for me because I'm someone, my first career was as a research scientist, and now I'm doing something creative. And that transition for me was going out into the void. No one could really tell me, especially family members, could really tell me how to navigate this space.
yeah.
I just all I could use really rely on is what I learned from coming out of research science and any other job that I've had before then, even the short time that I was a waitress. So using these kind of lessons that I learned in the jobs that I've had and lessons that I've learned just growing up via my parents and using those tools to navigate the space. And that's the same way I thought of my character Etta, essentially doing the same thing. So for me, I'm hoping that that relatability is what makes it a good story. And then the icing on the cake is, well, now you can go learn about Madam CJ Walker and a bunch of other scientists and researchers around this time, because even I found some stuff that I didn't know, because another part of this story that I took inspiration from is funny enough from a romance novel by the author named Beverly Jenkins. The novel is called At the Edge of Dawn, but in that story, the main character, protagonist, her father dies and then leaves her a quilt, like it's a slave quilt, so it's got all these different codes on it, and they pretty much use that as a map to find this missing stone.
Hmm.
And I just thought that that was so fascinating, the way that very real history, just the slave quilt being used as a way to move the story forward. And then that made me go and pick up books about it. And I was like, oh, well, I can like infuse this into what I'm doing, these patterns and these codes, and find a way to infuse it into Roots of Madness. So again, another way for hopefully if someone's reading that, they'll be like, oh, that's interesting. Like I want to know more about that. I'm just really something I've always been a fan of, even as like as just someone watching stuff, but definitely now as a storyteller, is when someone is able to just weave in real life things in a way that don't pull you out of the story. If anything, they just make you want to dive into it more. And that's what that book did for me.
Now you use a phrase is in the solicit and you use it as well, cosmic horror.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about a 20th century biochemist,
Uh-huh.
cosmic horror. So draw me that line.
Like how did that, oh, okay, so I initially, like the first thing that come came to mind was Jeff Vandermeer's Trilogy X series. Loved it. Those books, that entire series got me through some very not great days at work when I was working at the lab. And I, in that story, you're following the biologies. That's the main character, and then you dive into the unknown with her. And I think it was really from that where I'm just like, science fiction is science fiction until it's not anymore. And that's just kind of the way that I ended up approaching it. And I thought also because it's the 20th century Lovecraft, like I mean, I also know how deeply problematic and horrible, right? But also at the same time, I think that that's still important though. Those stories still have they still have value, they still have a place, and they exist for a reason. So I wanted to kind of play on that as well. And like in the same way that Lovecraft Country use the same things. And it was just very, again, getting to Black history and stuff. I thought that, that was, of course, an easy in, hopefully, to get folks who are fans of cosmic horror in. And if you're a fan of science, I would hope that you're a fan of science fiction, and cosmic horror is something that you want to get into. Because at the heart of well, not the heart of the story, but the thing that kind of kicks this off is this mysterious flower. Where did this flower come from? And it's a flower that just so happens to have grown on a plantation where her ancestors, my main character, is from, and she ventures back. So this is also kind of a story of reclamation at the same time, because the foundation that brings her out has reclaimed this land. Again, I learned about different things that the government had passed shortly after the Civil War that I didn't learn about at school. And I was like, oh, well, that's pretty interesting. They were just auctioning off land like that, and anyone could sort of kind of buy if they had the money. I thought that was completely fascinating. And I thought, okay, well, if that's the case, what if there was a foundation that was something similar to the Freemasons, and they wanted to, their thing is knowledge. Well, what about forbidden knowledge? What does that look like?
Hmm. And I will say, H.P. Lovecraft, problematic, but you can't deny the genius of the works.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the
You have to
thing.
divide the two of them,
Yes,
unfortunately, as with other famous writers right now,
yes.
unfortunately. So the protagonist of the story is Etta Knight. Like I said, she's our main character. It says it solicits that she wants to continue her family tradition of creating new natural medicines. Now, is that a goal that's altruistic, or is that a goal for monetary reasons, economic? How, how how innocent is she, and what's going to happen around her?
So it starts off altruistic, but for many things, like when you're really gung-ho on thinking that you are the hero of your story, sometimes you often end up being the villain in someone else's. And again, like, it starts out that way, and I guess it's this lesson in that even though your intent is good, does not mean that the outcome and how it impacts people or whatever is also going to be good. So unfortunately for her, her tenacity and wanting to help goes so far, but then of course her ego kind of gets in the way, and now we start making decisions that we possibly shouldn't make, but she's got to learn her lesson.
How aware, when she starts down the road, of the danger involved in what she's attempting?
Oh, it's a pretty early one. So yeah, by the time we get to the second issue, it is very clear that she is playing with fire, but because she is a scientist at heart, she doesn't necessarily see it that way. For her, it's, well, I can figure this out, and if I can figure it out, then I can control the outcome. But no, in cosmic horror, that is something that's wishful thinking.
So obviously, we're dealing with ideas of ancestors and the past and family history. She's using or potentially abusing medicines and things and knowledge that her ancestors possessed. How happy would her family or her ancestors be knowing what she's doing? Like, would they be happy that they're using their knowledge, or are they like, we put it away for a reason?
It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both, and I will leave it at that because we got some connecting factors that can make it go either way.
Okay. And once because the stories take place in the early 20th century, right?
Hmm.
How far does it deviate from what we know of history?
It doesn't deviate very far at all. Again, like very similar to Sinners, I think of also the movie Harlem Nights, where or even the movie Life, which, and I mean not Life the sci-fi, but Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. But those movies, when I think of them, like the racism is there, right? Like that's no is no get skirting around that, but it's not the focus. So that is something that is in the background. But because of the way that some of the members in the society move, that she ends up, working under them. We see how messed up it is essentially, right? And how sometimes money can only shield you so much from that. So she's going down to Savannah, Georgia. So very much not a great time. I mean, hell, she's even in Chicago, Illinois, which also still not necessarily a great time, but it's very reminiscent. Well, not reminiscent, but it's very much so like in the real world, as far as like what is going on society wise, coming out of the Reconstruction era, like what does that look like? And just kind of exploring that. And yeah, like are we gonna have to deal with some clan members? No, because like they're just not around. But it will be, a reminder here and there, like this is what's going on in this time, and this is how my character is dealing with it.
So again, we're talking about at a night. Again, early 20th century. Which, or I don't know if this is a spoiler, not a spoiler. So if it is, just tell me to shut up.
Yeah.
How much of the story can only exist in early 20th century? How much of it is universal through time? How much is it? This is a part of the time and place of that time period.
So it's very much in that time and place. Um, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not
Uh,
time jumping or anything like that. The story is still for the most part like 1905 all the way through. But it could transcend beyond that.
if she's the protagonist, then who or what is the antagonist of the story?
So many things. Even she is an antagonist to an extent.
Okay.
So we have a lot of characters that we have some gray area characters. We also have some characters where it's just like, oh, it's pretty black and white here. But there's a good mix, but our character is flawed. So there are going to be moments where people are going to be rooting for her, and then there are going to be other moments where it's just like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you doing this? And maybe by the end of it, you either feel she got what she deserved or you feel that it was unfair. But I want to leave that up to the reader to decide what's what. I don't know, because I for me, it's when I think of Annihilation, just the movie, it's like, well, is it Natalie Portman's fault for wanting to go find a husband, or is it the government's fault for sending her in there?
Well, honestly, at some point, she's I just because she as a chemist is smart, individual. At some point, she has to realize things are happening that may not be best for the larger world. At what point does she just, is there a point where she says there's a I need to step in, there's a problem, or is it the world's getting what it deserves? Like, where is she in the line of shit's coming down the hill? And she needs to, is she either going, is she pushing it down the hill, or is she trying to like at some point dam it up?
So she is pushing it down the hill because her whole thing is, I want to create something that is beneficial to my community and not harmful. But not unbeknownst to her, the thing that she finds is not necessarily helpful either. But again, she's stubborn and she believes that if she can figure this out, then she can learn how to tame it. I want to say by issue 5 is when we really see her choose, what side of the fence she wants to be on. And again, that'll be up to readers to decide whether or not, like, yes, absolutely, or what the fuck are you doing?
Well, I feel like in cosmic horror, the most dangerous tragic flaw is hubris. That's the one in cosmic horror that
Hmm.
always gets everyone into huge problems. Uh,
Yes.
is
Her
that,
hubris is gonna be her downfall.
would you say that is that her primary flaw is hubris, or is there something else you think?
No, no, no. It's definitely hubris. There's a little bit something else, but hubris is definitely and that's something very early on too that readers will pick up on like super early.
So the art's being done by, and I'm gonna get the name wrong, so correct me, Letizia,
Yeah, Letitia Cartanucci.
Letizia. Yeah, I was gonna butcher that name. I do apologize to her.
Sorry.
Him or her? Is it her?
Her. Hmm.
Her. It's her. So I apologize for the butchering the name. I know it was gonna happen. So kind of. did Ignition find her and connect, or did you say, "Hey, this is the person I'm working with"?
No, actually, it was per Letitia was suggested by Jamie. Funny enough, I was already a fan of her work because of House of Slaughter. So it was I always thought that her artwork had it was a signature style. Like I if I see it, then I know that that's her. And from what she's done with House of Slaughter, uh that to myself, that's been horror greatness. So as soon as Jamie was like, hey, like if she's available, and I'm like, hell yeah, like yes, absolutely. So shout out to Jamie Rich for that. And it has been phenomenal working with Letitia. She has been locked in and excited about this story since day one. And working for the bigger two and bigger companies, a lot of times you don't have an opportunity to, work with someone that you necessarily want. I mean, all my collaborators I've wanted to work with, so please don't take it this way. But they're chosen for you essentially. You don't really necessarily have a say. Every now and again you do, but that's not the case. So sometimes you don't know if someone is really that excited for the thing that you're writing, which is okay. Like this is a job, like I get it. But to have her, just excited from the jump about this, and for her to invest as much as she has and to feel a connection to the main character, like to me, that means the world because I just know that we're going to get artistic goodness out of it. And so far, the pages have just been phenomenal. Like they have given me nightmares.
And the thing about the comic book medium is that in the realm of horror, comic books have to do a different job than film and horror. Film and horror,
Yes.
you get your jump scares, you have, the Jaws music in the background, to
Mm.
get you pump, your heart racing. Comics can't really do that. As far as I have understood them, as able to pull off music as far as reading at the same time with the comic book. I don't know. I don't know anyone who's done that yet. For the most part, it hasn't happened. So the artwork and the visuals have to do a lot of the heavy lifting of what the film would normally do. So how important is the right artist to create the horror effects you're looking for?
Oh, it is to me is like the most important thing. Because if it's not there, if you can't feel the tension in the art, then everything just kind of goes to shit.
Hmm.
And that is something that because again, it's like my first time actually writing a full-on horror series essentially. Like the only time I've gotten a chance to do that was the short alien story that I wrote. So seeing how she's been able to keep the tension and what I hope I presented in my writing is just I don't it's given me a greater appreciation. Not that my appreciation was ever low, but just an even greater appreciation for just had the comic book medium and the collaborative process in working with an artist, especially working with an artist that fits the story that you are trying to tell. Again, sometimes when you're at the bigger company, like the artist might be phenomenal, but they might not be the right artist for this particular story. Or hell, sometimes the writer isn't the right person for the story, but it just is what it is. So to be able to like get the pages back and again kind of be freaked out by them, I don't know, like that's just something that I'm just so thankful that I've had an opportunity to experience because again I've been able to carry this over to other things that I've done even if it hasn't been horror related.
Hmm. So for cosmic horror, how crazy is things gonna get in this story?
Very very crazy. So we're talking body horror, of course just far out things that just make us wonder like okay so what is out there, and if we communicate with it, are we bringing bigger troubles? And if so, is there something that's even bigger than this thing? Yeah, cosmic horror has been something that's always just kind of freaked me out. Like I think of I always want to call it Fifth Element, and it's not that. Event Horizon. Don't ask me how I get those two. They're not, so totally different movies,
Both great movies.
but yeah, but for some reason, I always want to say Fifth Element when I mean Event Horizon, but Event Horizon is a movie that always comes to mind because I saw it way too early. Shouldn't have saw it as early as I did. And for me, the scariest part was what that hell looked like, but we only get like a tiny glimpse of it. We
Yeah.
don't see the whole thing. Well, now with Christian Ward doing that for IDW, I think we are going to see that. But That's what kind of freaked me out. Trying to do like how to travel in such a short period of time, and it just went all horribly, horribly wrong. So it's gonna go horribly wrong for everyone involved. And
Now, is this a miniseries, ongoing, or a graphic novel?
it is a mini series. However, there is a chance that there could be more, especially the way that I end things. So for right now, it is a mini series of 6 issues, but there could be more.
So when is the first issue going to come out?
October 1st.
Very cool, very cool. What's next for you?
Ooh, let's see. I have Street Sharks, which I'm very excited for. That couldn't be it's so totally different. I've been writing both of those at the same time, and it's been
That's a
whiplash.
little bit different right there.
Yes.
A little bit of a diversion.
Which is funny. And just announced through Mad Cave Studios, another creator-owned series called Temporal. So again, we're dealing with family, but we're dealing with time. I said that I would never write a story that dealt with time travel, and then I lied to myself and did it. Shout out to Time Cop for being the unfortunate inspiration behind this book. But that will be out actually the week after Roots of Madness, October 8th. And I feel like I am forgetting something. No, I'm not. The thing that I'm forgetting, I can't talk about right now. But if you enjoy cosmic horror, I may have some cosmic horror at one of these other companies, with a character that a lot of folks want to see more from.
All right, very cool. Good for tease. Come back on anytime you want to talk about it.
Yes.
I do at some point. I think want to talk about Street Sharks. Now that you brought it up.
Oh, please.
So come back on. We gotta do Street Sharks. The conversation also be much different than the one about Rooster Madness. Bit of a change, but either way, thank you so much, Miss Williams. It was an absolute honor to speak with you.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much.